Okay, so I took the parts, what was left, went through, I kind of, just for the most part, went through the motions of actually finishing them off. If I set them all up just right, they'll actually look really good. But their main problem, the only thing that was really not recoverable was this one side here. And I took too deep of a cut. You should be able to see that. This guy here is just a bit too small. And this right here, there's no way I can actually clean this up to make it, you know, valid. So that, and I got lucky. That is the other thing that I was unable to clean up. If you want to look. And that was stemmed from problem number 2. So this first one came from problem number 1. This one came from problem number 2. And problem number 3 was okay. It was actually able to get cleaned up. I didn't have any problems with that. So what happened here? I went ahead and I took the time and I made a little a model. You know, I went ahead and machined all these parts for, well, technically I machined them for other things, but this actually works out pretty well. It's like a miniature model. All right, so we're pretending that this is the index dividing head. This is the tail stop. This is the work. So our initial problem, the dead center was not, which kicked everything over a little bit. It's a little bit exaggerated, but so that way when the tool came and rolled down from the camera's view, the camera was sitting right here pointing this way. It actually turns out it was really easy to see. From my view over here, I thought, you know, once I hit about halfway, I was like, that doesn't quite look right. And with the general mistake being that I assumed everything was good, went ahead and finished it off. Once I backed out and I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's not right at all. So off camera, I spent about 30 minutes with an indicator going back and forth, tapping, 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 going back and forth, tap, oh crap, I went too far. Going back and forth, tapping it back, tapping it, and constantly doing that. Finally, I got it within 2 or 3 thou over the whole distance, and I was happy with that. That's close enough. That for these, you know, cosmetic measurements, it's definitely not something that you could notice. You'd actually have to have a micrometer to prove that it was out. All right, so that was problem number 1. That was not a real deep cut. So as it was coming down through here, it actually, within the top area, it cut that taper, or that diagonal across everything. So that was actually clean upable. I was able to, I still had enough machining to do. I removed enough material where that particular mistake went away. All right, mistake number 2. So this was really sort of a change in the process, and I think it comes, well, so this one I would say is me trying to get used to setting up the camera and setting up all the parts, and being somewhat of a novice, actually a real novice at this, and just forgot to indicate this direction. So that I'm chalking that up mostly to experience, and you know, just the added stress of trying to set up the camera and getting all that stuff working. So then problem number 2 stems from, again, novice and being a little overconfident. So I'd already done 3 others of these, one of them on a fully machined piece using the same process, you know, cutting one. And then another one I did 2 of them. I did them back to back this way, and I cut it. So I was feeling fairly confident that I knew how to do it. And when I started onto these ones, I started taking deeper cuts. I was hoping to get through it a little bit faster, so on camera it would look okay, and I wouldn't have to cut out quite so much, and I'd be able to, you know, not run it at 10 or 20 times speed on everything, and try to get it as unboring as possible. I mean, I know a lot of this stuff, I sit and I watch machining videos way too much anyway, but I know not everybody wants to do that, so I try to keep them at least a little bit shorter and a little bit more watchable. So the second problem, the chuck, I don't really have a good representation of the chuck. Here we go, it's even magnetic. All right, so the chuck is over here trying to hold this part, and it's threaded, it spins on. It's actually, the chuck came with my lathe, it just happens to have the exact same thread as the index head. So it screws on, and then it sits on here. And you know, it's got its tightness, and designed for the lathe. Whenever you're cutting something in the lathe, you're tightening the threads in the chuck, so you don't have much trouble with it loosening up. My lathe is not reversible, so this type of chuck is not good on a reversing lathe, because if you reverse it and you have any kind of load on your part, it can unscrew that chuck, and that chuck weighs about 45 pounds. It'll come off and drop onto your bed, and it'll dent and do all kinds of nasty things. So there's different styles of chucks, but mine is a screw-on. In that index head, it's tight enough where when I was doing the lighter cuts on my first couple of times, it didn't have any trouble. So especially coming around this back side or when coming through here. So I think that first one that has the little chunk taken out of it, wherever that went, that was the very first time that I had an issue. Kind of lost it now. It's not that big of a problem. Can't even find it now. Anyway, if you want to see it, go back to the first part of the video. So what happened there is, as I was running the cutter down here, I got to one side and I started coming back, and it had enough load from that little 1/4-inch bit cutting off metal that it actually unscrewed that chuck, and that's where it cut that piece in. Can't believe I can't, oh, there it is. So as the bit's coming along here, it digs in and it unscrewed the chuck a little bit. It was actually going this way. Actually, I think it might have been going this way. Either way. So as the bit was coming down, it unscrewed that chuck a little bit and dug into there. So to fix that, either lighter cuts, or I may find a way to actually just tighten that chuck a little bit better. I do think I could probably take those bigger cuts, and they actually come out fairly nice, and they did speed it up quite a bit. But now I'm a little bit nervous. So we'll see how that goes. All right, and then problem number 3 was again, just, you know, all these are novice issues, right? I'm really new to this, and it's all a learning experience for me. Was that dead center had a similar problem to the chuck. So I had set it up, I'd pushed it in, and it had gotten good center. I indicated it, spun it, made sure it was running true, but it has a little tightening screw, a little clamping tightening mechanism on it that I completely forgot to tighten. So similar to what happened on the chuck, but what happened on this side was, while it was coming down, it kicked over. And I didn't really notice it at first. And again, stuff I just need to pay way more attention to. But it kicked over, and that's where it took this extra large cut right here. So this part was in here, and that cutter's coming this way, and it kicks over and it takes this extra large cut, and I go ahead and I cut down the whole thing. So, and really that is the most damaging. That's really the one that completely ruins these parts. The one with the dent in it, you know, I could probably throw that on eBay and sell it for $20 or $30 and at least get the material cost back, if it wasn't for that. You know, same thing. That one's not quite as bad. It's I don't know why they come out at slightly different levels of bad, but I mean, they're all pretty much unusable. So these ones go to the art bin. Yep. All right, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. This is actually my sort of my pillar of shame. All the different parts that I've messed up, just learning stuff. Some of them, that one's not actually messed up. This one's not messed up. That one's got a lot of clamp marks in it. These were threads that I tried to turn, didn't come out very well. Again, more threads. A lot of this stuff I think was random material that I just dug out of the scrap yard out back, some old drive shafts, stuff like that. This I was trying to turn threads. They almost came out good. They're just really rough. And there's some 1/2 inch 20, I think. At least worked. It's got a nylon bushing, so it's a little difficult to push in. Broken boring bar. Who knows, I might be able to use that plug though. These I was just trying to turn some metal. These were, you know, just some round tubing put on there. They shattered all up really bad. Yeah, all different learning experiences. And now they're there too. After all that, what did we learn? We learned that the metal supply shop closes at 5. If I leave work at 3:50, I can make it there before they close and pick up material. So now I have enough stuff to make new ones. Oh, and some other stuff about paying attention when you're setting stuff up.